Want to break into cybersecurity but don't know where to start? So, this is the video you have been waiting for. So, welcome back to the channel. InfoSec Pandey here. So, if you have ever wondered what it really take to become a security analyst, the tools, the mindset, the career path, the actual day-to-day stuffs, so this video is your golden ticket, and we are diving into the SOC Analyst Ultimate Learning Guide. No fluff, no gatekeeping, just straight up insight to help you level up and own those alerts. So, from phishing traps to malware hunts, from lab setup to career moves, we have got it all. So, let's go. All right, so mission control, the SOC ecosystem. So let's slow things down here and understand this properly. So this is important because it shows how a SOC actually works in real life, not theory, not certification language, just reality. So what a SOC really is. So first, the definition part. SOC is basically a central place where the people, process, and the tools come together to keep an organization secure. That's it. So, in simple term, we can say SOC a team that watches what's happening, figure out what looks wrong, and then take action. So, think of it like a security control room, cameras, alarms, guards, procedures. Just replace all with logs, alerts, and analyst. Nothing fancy, right? So, if an interviewer asks you what is a SOC, this level of explanation is more than enough. How SOCs are set up. So let's talk about the operational model. Who is actually running the SOC? So in-house SOC. So in-house SOC means the company runs its own SOC. The analysts are company employees. Everything is internal, and big companies usually do this, like bank, large enterprises, big tech companies, and it gives them full control, but it is expensive and needs a lot of people. So, as a beginner, you may not start here, but it is good to know this model exists. And then we have co-managed. So, this is a shared model. Some work is done by the company, and some work is done by an external security team. So, think of it like in-house IT team plus external security experts. Very common setup, right? So, if you join a SOC as a fresher, there is a good chance it is co-managed. Then we have fully outsourced SOC, that's called MSSP. So this one is very important for beginners, and here the entire SOC is handled by an external company called an MSSP, Managed Security Service Provider. And most entry level SOC job exist in MSSP. So you actually monitor multiple clients, multiple environments, and a lot of alerts. So, if you are applying for your first SOC role, this is where you will likely land. And then virtual SOC. So, this is the modern version. No physical SOC room, analysts work remotely, everything is cloud based. Post COVID, this is super common. SOC doesn't always mean dark room, big screen, night shift. Sometimes it is just you, a laptop, and a SIEM dashboard. All right, let's talk about the team structure and hierarchy. So let's look at the pyramid on the right. So this is the SOC hierarchy. Tier 1 analyst. So this is where everyone starts. Tier 1 works include monitoring alert, doing initial check, basic investigation, and escalating when needed. So think of tier 1 like the front desk of security. You don't solve everything, you decide what needs deeper attention. A common beginner mistake is thinking tier 1 work is low value, but it is not. Tier 1 is where you learn how real attack looks like, how tool generate noise, how incident actually begins. So interviewer expect you to understand alert triage and escalation, nothing more. Then we have tier 2 analyst position. So tier 2 takes over when things get more complex. So they do deep investigation, log correlation, incident handling. You don't need to be tier 2 today. Strong tier 1 analyst naturally grow into tier 2 roles. and then tier 3 analyst. So tier 3 is advanced. They focus on threat hunting, custom detection, rule creation, advanced response. This is not beginner territory, and that's totally fine. SOC career are built step by step, right? So this is the tier 3. And then we have specialist position. So on the side you will see specialist, SOC manager, threat intel analyst, forensic analyst. So most people reach these roles after starting in SOC tier 1. SOC is often the entry gate to many cybersecurity careers. So a key function of SOC, number one, 24/7 monitoring. So SOC runs all the time. That means safe rotations, proper handovers. Yes, the shift work is real in SOC, and just be mentally prepared for that. Then we have alert triage, and this is daily SOC life. Most alert are false positive, and that's normal. Your job is to decide, is this real or not. Then incident response. So when something is confirmed, contain the issue, escalate properly, and document everything. So in SOC, documentation is huge. So if it is not documented, it did not happen, right? So documentation is key. Then threat intelligence. So this is about knowing what attacker are doing and what technique are common. So as a beginner you consume threat intel, not create it. And then compliance. So SOC also supports audit and policies. You won't handle compliance deeply as a fresher, but your logs and reports support compliance work. So if you understand this slide completely, you already understand how a SOC works. So SOC is structured, team based, process driven, and you don't need to know everything now. You need to know your role, follow procedures, keep learning, and that's how SOC career are built. All right. So the knowledge base and the core technical skills. So now this slide is very important. This is where most beginners start to panic. So relax. This does not mean you must master everything here before applying for a SOC job. It shows what a skill a SOC analyst slowly build over time. Let's go section by section. So we have network fundamental here. So we will start with networking. SOC analysts don't configure router every day, but if you don't understand networking, alerts won't make sense. So here we have OSI model and TCP/IP. So you don't need to be memorize all 7 layers like a poem. uh, what matter is data moves in the layer, problem happen in different layer, and in SOC this help you answer question like, is this a network issue or an application issue? So the tip says if you can explain OSI using a simple example, that's more than enough. And then protocols. So HTTP, DNS, SMTP. So protocols are just rules for communication, right? And HTTP is for web traffic, DNS is for IPs and names, and SMTP is for email. And why SOC cares? So attackers use normal protocol, phishing uses SMTP, and malware talks over HTTP, and DNS is abused a lot. So the beginner mistakes, they try to memorize packet failed. So better focus what normal traffic look like versus what suspicious traffic look like. So understand the baseline first. Then we have routing and address. So this is about IP address, internal versus external traffic, where traffic is coming from. And SOC use, if an alert says connection is suspicious IP, you should understand what that mean. No deep routing theory needed, right? Then firewall and segmentation. So firewall decide allow or block. So segmentation means not everything should talk to everything. So SOC analyst checks firewall logs a lot, and real SOC work is, was this traffic allowed? Should this even be allowed? That's it. And then packet inspection. So this just means looking inside traffic, not just headers. And as a beginner, you don't inspect packet daily, but you should understand some tools can see what is being sent, not just where. All right, so next we have operating system. So now operating system, this is used for security operations center. And the first we have Windows and Linux admin and security. So most alert come from Windows and Linux servers, and you should understand basics like user, process, service, permissions. And SOC doesn't expect you to be a sysadmin, but you must understand what is normal look like. And then OS hardening. So hardening means making system harder to attack, and the and if system is not hardened, alert is going to be increased. So you don't harden system as tier 1, but you need to know why alert exists. And then log source and event type. So this is the core for SOC work. Log come from Windows, Linux log, application log, and SOC analyst read logs all the day. So you can understand what action create which log, and not memorizing event IDs. And then command line proficiency. So yes, command line matters. Not hacking, not fancy script, just basics like navigating files, checking process, running simple commands. Even basic confidence here make SOC life much easier. Then we have a security concept. So now fundamental of security, so these show up everywhere: interview, alert, report. So we have CIA triad, that mean confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And the SOC view is which one is impacted. For example, if data leak happened, so that's a confidentiality, and file tampering is integrity, and if the server is down, so that's availability. So it is very common interview question. Then we have triple A, authentication, authorization, and accounting. So this is about who are you, what can you do, and what did you do. And the SOC relevance is most alert are related to access, login failure, privilege abuse, suspicious activities. And then encryption. So encryption means data unreadable without keys, and SOC doesn't build encryption, right? But SOC checks: is traffic encrypted, is sensitive data exposed. So you just need the concept, not math. Then vulnerability management. So this is about finding weaknesses and tracking them and fixing them. But the SOC work closely with vulnerability team, and the SOC view is like exploit often target known vulnerabilities. Then zero trust and defense in depth. So zero trust, don't trust anything by default. And defense in depth is like multiple layer of security. So SOC clubs layers, and more layer equal to more visibility. Then we have cloud and code. So this scares beginner the most. So let's simplify. Cloud models, IaaS, PaaS, SaaS models. So you don't need to deploy cloud apps. You just need to understand who manages what. SOC alerts change depending on cloud model. And then cloud provider, AWS, Azure, and GCP. So these are the main cloud providers. And most SOC monitor cloud now. And log come from cloud identity, cloud network, cloud storage. So basic familiarity is enough. Then identity and access management. So IAM is huge in the cloud SOC, and who has access, what permission, any abuse. So many cloud incidents are IAM related. Then we have code, Python, PowerShell, and Bash. So SOC analysts don't code like developers. They script to automate tasks, parse log, save time. And the beginner goal is to read a script, modify simple one, and understand the logic. Then also we have regex and API interactions. So regex help you filter log and search patterns. API help tools talk to each other. Not day one skill, but very useful over time. And the final message for this slide is it's a growth map. So you don't learn all of this at once. So as a beginner, you can focus on networking basics, SIEM understanding, security fundamentals, and SOC rewards clarity, not overload. So if you understand why alerts happen, you are already on the right path. All right. So the tech stack tools of trade. Okay, now this slide answers a very common beginner question. What tools do SOC analysts actually use? And before we go into names, let me say this clearly. You do not need to learn every tool here to get a SOC job. Tool changes, but concept do not. So this slide is about categorize, not memorizing logo. All right, so let's break it down. So number one is detection and SIEM EDR. So this is the heart of a SOC, and if you work in SOC, you will live inside these tools. And the SIEM, security information and event management. So SIEM is where all log come together, like firewall, server, endpoint, cloud, everything sends log to the SIEM. Example you will hear a lot, like Splunk Enterprise Security, IBM QRadar, Microsoft Sentinel, ELK Stack, and Wazoo. So SOC work with SIEM, including monitoring alert, running searches, investigate incidents, and the beginner reality is you usually learn one SIEM, and the knowledge transfers to others, and the interviewer's expectation is explain what a SIEM does, not how to build one. Now we have EDR and XDR, endpoint detection and response. So EDR works at the endpoint level like laptop, server, workstations. And here we have some examples like CrowdStrike, Falcon, Sentinel-1, Carbon Black, Microsoft Defender. And EDR shows things like suspicious process, malware behavior, file changes. And SOC analysts use EDR to validate alerts, contain infected machines, and collect forensic evidences. So think of SIEM as central control and EDR as endpoint CCTV. Then network visibility. So this section is about seeing network traffic. Not every SOC uses all of these daily, but they are important concept. So tool like Wireshark, Jeek, Bro, Suricata, etc. So Wireshark capture packet, very powerful tool, and you don't stare at packet all day, but understanding what a packet is help a lot. Then Jeek, so Jeek and Suricata, so these tool analyze network traffic and generate logs and alerts. And SOC use detect scanning, detect suspicious connections, identify unusual behavior. So you usually see their output in SIEM, not the raw tool itself. And then Snort and top ng. So snort is an IDS tool, and top ng help with traffic visibility. Again, focus on what problem these tools solve, not command options. Then also we have threat intelligence. So threat intel help answer one question: is this thing known to be bad or not? And here we have some common tool like MISP, Anomaly, Threat Connect, Alien Vault, Recorded Future, Virus Total. And the SOC analyst use threat intel to check IP reputation, check domain and has, add context to alert. So you don't hunt attacker here. You enrich your alert with intel and make better decisions. Then also we have response and forensics. So now we move from detection to action. So here we have some tool called SOAR, the security orchestration and automated response. And the SOAR tool automate response steps. For example, we have some Phantom, Demisto, XOR, Logic App, etc. So instead of manually doing 10 step, SOAR does them automatically. So beginner reality is as tier 1, you follow playbooks, you don't build automation yet. But you should understand what automation exists in your environment. And then forensics. So forensic is about investigating after an incident and collecting evidence. And some examples are FTK, in case, volatility, uh, Velociraptor. So this is not entry level SOC work. SOC analysts usually collect the data and hand it to forensic team. But knowing the purpose help in interviews, right? And the common beginner confusions. Let me clear this up. Which SIM should I master? So any one SIM tool you can master. And do I need all these tools installed? No, because these are very expensive tools. Will interviewer ask tool commands? So it's rare. So interviewers care about how alert flow, how investigation happen, and how tool work together. So SOC tool are like instruments. You don't learn all instrument at once. You learn how music works first. So if you understand SIEM equal to centralized log, and EDR equal to endpoint visibility, and network tool equal to traffic insight, and SOAR is equal to automation, and forensic is equal to deep investigation. So you are already thinking like a SOC analyst now. All right, rules of engagement, incident response framework, and NIST incident response lifecycle. So now this explains how SOC team respond when something actually goes wrong, not tools, not alerts. This is about process, and SOC runs on process. So let's start with the NIST incident response lifecycle, and almost every SOC follow this, even if they don't say it out loud. So the first P have preparation. So preparation means being ready before an incident happens. So this includes policy, training, monitoring, and playbooks. And the SOC work is most of your day-to-day effort, support preparation, and the good preparation equal to less chaos later. And the beginner reality is you don't design policies, you follow them. Then second we have detection and analysis. So this is where SOC analysts spend most of their time. An alert comes in, and you triage it, collect evidence, and then check the impact. And this is the classic tier 1 work. And the key idea here is not every alert is an incident, and SOC analysts are trained to stay calm and verify first. And the third one we have containment, eradication, and recovery. So once an incident is confirmed, containment, so isolate the system, stop the spread, and then eradication. So eradication means removing malware or removing the threat from the machine, and then fix root cause. And then recovery, so recovery brings system back safely. And SOC doesn't always do all of these alone. Other teams get involved. So SOC coordinate and document these process. Then the last one we have post incident activity. So this is often ignored, but it is very important. And here we ask what went wrong, what worked, and what should change. So this improves the detection, the playbooks, and the training part. And SOC maturity comes from this step. So this is very important. But yeah, as I told, this is often ignored by teams. Then also we have some SANS process. So SANS incident response process. So this is the same idea, just broken down more clearly. The preparation, identification, containment, eradication, recovery, and lesson learned. So if you understand NIST, you understand SANS, and interviewers usually accept either framework. Then we have MITRE ATT&CK, the strategic integration. So let's talk about the MITRE ATT&CK now. So this is not a hacking tool. So MITRE ATT&CK is a knowledge base of how attackers behave, and a SOC uses it to categorize attack, map alert to techniques, identify detection gap. For example, instead of saying suspicious PowerShell activity, SOC says this matches this MITRE technique. So it help everyone speak in same language. And the beginner note here is you don't memorize attack technique, tactic, and IDs. You learn how to use it for context. Then the last we have incident severity matrix. So this part decide how fast we react. Not every incident is equal, right? So here we have some severity: critical, high, medium, low. And the critical severity includes data breaches and active ransomwares, and this needs to be respond within 30 minutes. And then high severity alert, so some examples are targeted phishing, credential harvesting, and this is serious but controlled one and should be handled in less than 2 hours. And then medium severity, so here we have some examples like malware on isolated workstation. So this should be handled quickly, but there is no panic since the workstation is already isolated. So this we can handle within 8 hours. And then low severity one, so low severity one includes policy violation, recon activities. So this is logged, monitored, and handled calmly. So we can take time, and we can resolve it in 24 hours. So why this matter in SOC? So SOC analyst must stay calm, follow priority, and not overreact. So severity of these alert decide the escalation, response speed, and who get involved. So if it is a critical severity alert, then everybody should involve, the tier 1, 2, 3 managers, CISO, everyone. So beginner mistake to avoid, and the very common ones are treating every alert as critical, and skipping the documentation, and also acting before analysis. So analysis is key. So if you are acting before analysis, then there is a chance you are going to miss the actual impact of the alert. Then ignoring lesson learned. So SOC is about controlled response, not panic. So this slide shows one big truth: SOC is not random. There are frameworks, steps, rules. So if you follow the process, you will do well even as a beginner. So you don't need superhero skills, you need discipline, clear thinking, good communication, and that's the real SOC work. All right, so next we have the watch, alert, triage methodology, and now we are going to explain what SOC analysts actually do all day. So this is alert triage. If you can explain this confidently in interview, then you already sound like a SOC analyst. And here we have 5 steps. So this is the exact mental checklist analysts use for every single alert. Not random clicking, not guessing. They follow this process. So the first one is receive. So as soon as an alert comes in, you document the time, the source of the alert type, and then severity of the alert. And you don't panic, you don't jump on conclusions, you just log the facts. And the SOC rule is, if it is not documented, it did not happen. Then number two is validate. So this is where most alerts die. Here we ask one question: is this real or noise? Whether true positive or false positive. And you're going to check, is this normal behavior, or has this happened before, or is there legit business context? So most alert stop here, and that's okay. Filtering noise is a core SOC skill, especially for the SOC L1. Then next we have investigate. So if it looks real, now we investigate. So this means we are going to gather or pull the logs, and then build a timeline of the alerts. So we are going to check the telemetry, different kind of logs, then identify attacker behavior. So that include the process and the steps attacker taken, and is there any some other alert. Also understanding the TTP, so what technique, tactic, procedures, and tool attackers used. So this is where the SIEM, EDR, firewall log all come together, and the goal is to understand what actually happened, not guess. So never assume, always verify. So follow the zero trust model rule here. And then next step we have analyze. So now we zoom out a little bit, and then question here: how bad is this? What is the business impact of the alert? And what is uh, the system that impacted? Is the one system impacted, or many system impacted, or is data involved? So these steps decide severity and next action. So SOC is technical, but decision affect the business. Then the final step we have escalate or resolve. So this is the final step, and we have two options: escalate to tier 2 or incident response team, or close the alert. So we have two steps. So if we are closing, we need to add the proper note, what we investigated, what we found, whether it's a false positive, true positive, and then tune the alert if needed. So good SOC analyst leave the system better than they found it. And here we have a small checklist, the investigation checklist at the right side. So this is your SOC survival list, we can say. So you don't memorize it, you just follow it. So the first one we have identify source and destination IP. So this is a simple check, and you can check who talked to whom, whether it's an external IP or internal IP, whether it's a known or unknown. So this gives direction immediately. Then check for the reputation. So is the domain or IP? So whether it's a known malicious or newly registered IP or domain on threat intel feeds. So this often answers the alert fast. Then verify user history and authentication log. So was the user logged in normally or working during business hours or using a new device or location? So the context matter here more than alert, right? And then check for lateral movement. So this is the big question. Did it spread? So one host issue is manageable, but if it is on the multiple host, then it's a problem. So lateral movement equal to serious incident. And then correlate with threat intel. So this is where the MITRE attack comes back. So you match behavior, techniques, known campaigns. So SOC is detective work, not a magic. All right. So real world SOC truth are most alert are false positive and uh, misconfigurations and the normal user behavior, and your job is not to catch hacker every hour. Your job is to stay calm, follow the process, escalate only when needed, and that's what company pay for, right? And also I'll give some interview tips. So if interviewer asks how do you triage an alert, you say I follow a structured workflow: receive, validate, investigate, analyze, and then escalate or resolve. So the answer alone put you ahead of 80% of beginners. So make a note of it. If you have a notepad or copy or pen, you just note down these steps. So this slide is the heart of SOC work. If you master this, tool become easier and stress become manageable and the confidence goes up. So alert triage is not speed, it's clarity. All right. Next slide is the brain, the SIEM management and tuning. So now we are talking about the brain of the SOC, the SIEM system. So if log are raw information, SIEM is the thing that makes sense of noise. And yes, this is where the beginner get overwhelmed. So let's keep it simple. So what a SIEM actually does, so a SIEM collect log, correlate events, trigger alerts. It does not magically detect hacker. So if the data is bad, the alert will also be bad, right? So that's why management and tuning matters. So here we have log source prioritization in first box. So not all logs are equal. Think of this like office security. So you protect the CEO office more than the parking lot. Same idea here. So we have some critical logs like domain controller. So those are the crown jewels and top priority logs. So these systems can control authentication, hold sensitive data, and can bring the company down if compromised. So in SOC work, alert from here are taken very seriously. Even a small anomaly matter. And then we have high severity log sources like email, firewall, EDR. So this is where most attack show up first, like phishing email or firewall blocks or malware detections. So as a tier one analyst, you will spend a lot of time here. Then we have the medium block source. So this includes file server, cloud services. This is very important, but usually not urgent. So you investigate the suspicious access, unusual downloads, permission abuse. So context is key here. Then we have the low level log sources like your workstations, printers, and some other devices. So yes, the printers generate logs, and yes, they are usually boring. So these are noisy systems. So good to monitor, but low priority unless something escalates. So the beginner tips. So new analyst might think more log equal to more security, but the reality is more log equal to more noise. And the good SOC prioritize, they don't hoard. And then we have a tuning cycle here. So this is a loop. You can see this is a loop, not a one-time task. So if you remember nothing else, remember this. Number one, analyze alert volume. So the first question, Why are we getting so many alerts? Is it bad threshold, normal behavior, misconfigured rule, or anything else? So volumes tells a story here. And then review false positive, the second one. So this is where the experience builds. You look for the repeating patterns, known safe behavior, alert that never lead anywhere. So the goal here is to reduce the noise without losing visibility. And then also we have tune the rules. So here is where the changes happen, and you might increase threshold and add some inclusions or exclusions or narrow down conditions. And the important part is never blindly disable the rules. So many SOC analysts go and suppress the rules, so that's not right thing. You document it properly, and that's how incidents get missed. Then we have the validate. So alert tuning, you test, you check old data, historical alert, expected detections. If alert is still fire correctly, that's good. If not, back to one step. And then we have some thing called SIEM health check. So this is boring, but it is very important. And you can monitor the index latency. Our logs are arriving late. So if the logs are arriving late, that means the delayed detections. And then parsing errors. So if the fields are not parsed properly, so the query is going to be break because it's written on some rule, right? And also it is going to fail the correlations, and also it is going to miss the alert context. So parsing error or parsing issue quietly kill SOC efficiency, so it is very important. Then storage utilization. So if storage fills up, logs get dropped, retention breaks, and compliance issue starts. So this usually happen on the on-prem SOC or the legacy SIEM systems, because the log is saved on some kind of physical servers. But if you are on the cloud, then no need to worry about this point. So the pro tips is always start with critical system, normalize data early, and then consistent field make searching easier and the alert accurate, and then investigations faster. So this is senior level thinking even at tier 1. This helps. So career and interview context. So interviewers don't expect you to tune rule. They expect you to understand why tuning exists, why false positive matters, why sim health matters. So if you explain this calmly, you sound job ready. So SIM is not about tools, it's about signal versus noise. And good SOC analyst reduce noise, protect critical assets, and trust process over panic. All right, next slide we have the Intel threat intelligence integration. So now let's talk about the threat intelligence. So this is one of those terms that sounds very advanced, but in daily SOC work, it is actually very practical. So think of threat intel like external knowledge. It tell you who is attacking, how they attack, and what to watch for. And what type of intelligence are available. So here you can see four type of intelligence available: strategic, tactical, operational, and then technical. So these are four labels. You don't use all of them the same way in SOC. So number one, the strategic one. So strategic one is like high level. It means for management, CISO, executive, and it answers question like, are we being targeted as an industry? What kind of threat should be prepared for? And as a tier 1 analyst, you won't work with this much, and that's okay. Then we have tactical intelligence. So this is more SOC relevant, and it is focused on attacker behavior, TTPs, the technique and procedures. For example, attackers using PowerShell, and then they're doing the credential dumping. So this helps SOC team to improve the detection, map activity to MITRE attack. Then operational intelligence. So this is campaign label intel. It tells you active attacks, ongoing malware campaigns, who is attacking whom right now. So this is useful during real incidents. And then the technical one. So this is the most common one in SOC, and it includes IP address, domain, file has. So these are called IOCs, the indicator of compromise, and this is what beginners see every day in the SOC life. And some key artifacts. So let's break these down simply. IP, domain, URLs. So these are used for blocking traffic, detecting command and control technique or connections, investigating phishing link. So never trust an IOCs blindly. Always check the context. Then also we have file hash. So hashes identify known malware files. So if the hash match, it is fast, it is reliable, but attackers change hashes often, so hashes alone are not enough. And then we have registry keys and detection rules. So they are from Yara rules, Sigma rules. They describe behavior, not just files. So this is powerful, but usually handled by tier 2 or detection engineers. And then threat actor profile. So this tell you who the attacker is, what tools they use, what industries they target. So this help analyst understand intent, not just alert. And then we have the threat intel life cycle here. So this is how threat intel actually flows. You can see the direction, collection, processing, analysis, then dissemination, then feedback. So the direction, first you decide what do we care about, and whether it's a finance threat, ransomware, or cloud attack. Then the collection, so you collect intel from open source, some vendors, some isaacs, or some community feeds. Then you're going to process it, and you will process raw intel. You clean it, you normalize it, and then remove the junks, just like log parsing. Then also you are going to analyze. So this is where meaning is added, and you are going to connect intel to your environment, your alerts, your incidents. So this steps separates analyst from alert clickers. Then dissemination. So intel is shared into SIEM, EDR, dashboards, into reports. So if intel is not shared, it is useless. And then feedback. So did this intel help? Did it reduce risk? Did it create noise? So feedback is going to improve future intels. And the common beginner mistakes. So usually the analyst blindly trusting on the thread feeds, they blocking IOCs without validations, and also thinking more intel equal to better security. But the good SOC work is quality over quantity. So interviewers don't expect you to memorize threat actors. They expect you to know what threat intel is, how it is used in SOC, and why context matter more than raw IOCs. And you can explain it calmly and you stand out. So threat intel doesn't replace analysis, it supports it. So think of it as senior teammate giving you the hints, not answers. All right, so the next one we have the adversary, common attack patterns. So let's break it down. So there are 5 ways hacker try to mess with systems. So let's walk through it together. Number 1, phishing. So the classic trap. So this is when attackers send fake email or link to trick you into giving up your login information. So look out the weird domain name or sketchy login pages. And how to catch it. So check your email gateway log and use tool that rate the reputation of the URL. And if it smells fishy, it probably is. Then second we have ransomware. So this one is nasty, and hackers lock up your files and demand money to unlock them. So what are the sign? So the tons of files suddenly encrypted, and creepy ransom notes popping up on your computer. So the detection tips are monitor for unusual file changes and keep an eye on PowerShell activity, and that's often how they sneak in. Next, we have insider threat, and this one is spicy. So sometimes the danger come from someone inside the company, and the red flags are people accessing stuffs late at night or using permission they should not have. And what tools can help? So behavior analytic tool like UEBA and USB monitoring can catch SADI moves. So lateral movement, ever heard of lateral movement? So it is when attackers get into one system and then move sideways to others and trying to grab admin access. So watch for techniques like pass the hash or access admin shares, and spot it with log correlation and tracking remote access with RDP or SSH. Then the last one we have data exfiltration. So this is when attackers try to sneak your data out of network. And what are the clues? So the use outbound data transfers or weird DNS activity. And what are the defense? So use net flow analysis and DLP alerts to catch it before it's gone. And that's the rundown: five common attack pattern and how to spot them. So if you're getting into cybersecurity or just want to understand how the bad guys operate, this is a great place to start. All right, so next we have uh, measuring success, SOC metrics and KPIs. So now we are diving into something super important. So if you are into cybersecurity or just curious about how security operations center or SOC measures their success, don't worry, I'll keep it chill and simple. So let's go. So here we have first section, the detection effectiveness. This is all about how good a SOC is at spotting threat. And MTTD, so MTTD or mean time to detect. So this is basically how fast they notice something fishy. The goal, so the goal is less than 24 hours. So if a hacker poking around, the SOC should catch it within a day. And true positive rate, so this one is about accuracy, and you want your alert to be legit, not false alarm. And the target here is over 70%. So out of all alert, at least 70% should be real threat. And then coverage, so this refers to how much the MITRE attack framework the SOC is watching. So think of MITRE like big cheat sheet of hackers move, and SOC always aim to cover more than 80% of it. Then section number 2, the response efficiency. So detecting is cool, but responding fast, that's the real game changer. So MTTR or mean time to respond, so the goal is under 1 hour for that. And so once they spot a threat, they should be jumping on it fast. And containment, so this means spotting the threat from spreading, and target is under 4 hours. And remediation, so remediation means the fixing the damage, and SOC aim to wrap up this in less than 48 hours, quick and clean. And then another section we have operational health. So this is like checking the SOC fitness level. Alert volume, so alert volume, like each analyst should handle less than 100 alert per day. Any more and it is chaos. And the SLA compliance, so this is about meeting service level agreement. SOC should hit over 98% of compliance, basically do what you promise on time. So this is varies company to company. Then tuning, so this is about reducing false alarm, and the goal is to keep false positive under 30% because nobody like chasing ghost. And the bonus part, reporting components. So finally, when SOC report their performance, they focus on the current threat landscape, the critical incident they handled, and risk trend they are seeing, and how they are doing the compliance. So yeah, that's how SOC measure their success, and by being fast, accurate, and efficient. So if you are working in cybersecurity or just geeking out on it, these metrics are your best friends. All right, so now we are talking about documentation and playbooks, the steps that keep your team from going full chaos mode during incident. So the paper trail, documentation and playbook. So let's break it down. So the first we have is standard playbook structure. All right, so think of this like your game plan when something goes wrong. So overview and detection. So this is where you list what triggers the playbook, like indicator of compromise, the IOCs, the weird behavior or alert. So basically what set off the alarms bell. Then investigation. So time to triage and scope the issue. Is it the big deal or just a false alarm? You dig in and figure out what is really going on. Then containment. So if it's legit, you isolate the threat, lock it down, preserve evidence and stop it from spreading like digital wildfire. Then eradication and recovery. So now you clean up the mess, remove the threat, restore the systems and make sure everything is back to normal. And then the last one is communication. Don't forget to loop in all the stakeholders and escalate if needed. So nobody likes being left in the dark during a crisis. And the second section we have shipped handover from essentials. So this is what you pass on when your shift end. So the next crew is not flying blind, right? So the field we have active incident. So what is still going on, what is the status, priority, and what actions are pending. Then notable alerts. So any pattern or high priority alert that need attention, so flag those. And then system status. So is your SIEM or EDR healthy? If your tool are down, that's a problem. So the pro tip here is documentation is your contribution to future success. If it is not written down, it did not happen. Boom, that's the golden rule. So yeah, playbooks and handovers might sound boring, but they are the backbone of the solid security team. And keep things documented, stay organized, and your future self will thank you. All right, so the next section we have the training ground, labs and exercises. So so the first one is home lab setup. So this is your personal playground to test stuff without blowing up your real system. So the virtualization. So you will need something like VirtualBox or VMware Player. So these let you run virtual machine, basically fake computer inside your real computer. So they are super handy for exercises. And some security tools like uh, SIEM system, IDS, scanners, and you will want a few key tools like ELK or Waju. So these help you collect and analyzing SIEM and IDS. So Suricata is your go-to for spotting intrusion, and then a scanner like OpenVAS is great for vulnerability scanning. Then logging part is very important, and don't forget to set up logging. Use Windows event forwarding or syslog to keep track of what is happening across your systems. Then we have some practical scenarios here, and now let's talk practical scenarios. So this is where you get your hands dirty. So number one, the phishing. So learn to analyze email headers and check attachment safely, and spot the scam before it bites. Then malware. So dig into process trees, check file reputation, and figure out how malware sticks around. And it is like the detective work. Then data exfiltration. So this one is about catching data leaks. So identify what kind of data is leaving, who is sending, and where it is going. Then we have next section, simulation. So try purple team exercises. So that's red team, the attackers, and the blue team defenders work together. So use atomic red team testing to simulate red team activities or attacks in the safe way. So it is like a fire drill for your network. And here is the golden nugget. So documentation is your contribution to future success. So if it is not written down, it did not going to be happen. So yeah, takes note, log everything and keep track of your progress. Then we have next slide, career trajectory, the label up. So now we are talking about the cybersecurity career path from newbie to expert and how to prepare for interviews like a boss. So let's go. Entry level, the first one, All right, starting at the bottom, but don't worry, it is where the everyone begins. So some entry level certifications you will want to grab, things like CompTIA Security Plus, CISA Plus, or GSEC. So these are your foundation certifications. So think of them as your entry ticket into the cyber world. This stage is all about building your foundation and learn the basics and get comfy with security concept and start exploring tools. Next, we have mid level. So once you have got some experience under your belt, it is time to level up. So the certifications like GCIS, so this is for the incident handling, and then some EC Council, SOC, and SIEM certification. So these, so you are getting technical and know your steps. So this is the technical phase, I would say, but you're diving deeper into threat detection, response, and analysis. So you're not just watching alerts, you're owning them. Then the next step we have advanced level. So now we are talking about the expert mode and the certifications like GCFA, the forensics, CISSP, and GCDA. So these are heavy hitters, and so you are ready for leadership or a specialist role. So this is all about leadership and expertise. So you are guiding teams, making strategic decisions, and maybe even building security program from scratch. Then we have interview preparation. So you have got the certifications and skills. Now let's crush those interviews. So the technical questions. So be ready to explain stuffs like IDS versus IPS and walk through a triage process so that you understand how to handle incident step by step. Then some scenario based questions. So you might get asked how you would handle a ransomware attack or how you would prioritize multiple incident. So think on your feet and show your logic. And then skill checklist. So make sure you are solid on log analysis, network fundamentals, and then scripting. Even basic stuff helps. So there you have it, your roadmap to a cybersecurity career from entry level to expert level, and plus how to prepare like a pro for interviews. So whether you are just starting out or planning your next move, this guide is got you covered. All right, so next and final slide we have the analyst creed. So let's go line by line and unpack what this creed really means. So I'm a defender. So you are a shield, you protect system, data, and people from threats, and you are the reason attackers don't win. Then I'm a investigator. So you dig deep, you follow the breadcrumbs, analyze log, and uncover what really happened. So you are basically the Sherlock Holmes of cyberspace. I'm a learner. So the cyber world changes fast. New threats pop up daily. Staying curious and hungry for knowledge is what keeps you sharp. And then I'm a communicator. So it is not just about tech. You explain findings, share insight, and help other understand what's going on. You bridge the gap between geek speak and the real world impacts. So I'm part of a team. So you're not alone. You have got the teammates, mentors, and allies, and together you are stronger. And that's how you've been. And the adversary only has to be right once, but your team works every day to ensure they are not. And that's the reality. Attackers get one shot, and you are on guard 24 bar 7. So that's the dedication. And this one is also gold too. So security is a journey, not a destination. So continuous learning is the key here. And you never arrive in cybersecurity. You keep growing, adapting, and improving. And that's what make it exciting. So yeah, the analyst creed is not just words, it is a mindset. So if this complete video fired you up, drop a like, hit subscribe, and share it with your fellow defenders. So catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.